Can ghosts really become saints after death? Hi, Dad. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weary Lore. Welcome back to my Urban Legends of America series. Today, we will be talking about urban legends from Arizona. Let's see if our score is any higher than last week. Researching Arizona, I found that it is filled with ghost stories, which makes sense seeing as the number of tragedies that have occurred in Arizona are quite high. Ghost stories are urban legends, and so many of these stories were interesting, but I had to cut this down to just three, like all the other states, and perhaps only one actual ghost story. The first urban legend I'm going to start with is called the Red Ghost, but no one in the legend actually claims it to be a ghost. Let's get into it. The legend starts way back in 1883. Two ranchers had left their homes near Eagle Creek, Arizona, in order to check on their cattle. During their absence, one of their wives noticed their dogs were barking loudly, and then she heard a scream. Upon looking out her window, she saw a monster, a huge, reddish-colored beast with a devilish-looking rider upon its back. She rushed to lock her doors and await her husband's return. When her husband returned, it was with devastating news. The wife of the man that he had left with had been trampled to death. The two men attempted to follow the footprints of the beast who had committed the crime, only to find red hair in the bush and not much more. It was only days later that the beast descended upon the campsite of a group of prospectors, tearing through it and leaving red hair in its wake. Once again, only days later, the monster was seen nearly 30 feet tall and viciously aggressive. Thankfully, all it did this time was knock over a couple wagons, but it would kill again soon. This time, a grizzly bear that it would then eat before disappearing into thin air. But by this point, there was one thing that all the tales agreed on. It was not a devil that rode upon the red ghost's back. It was a bleached human skeleton. The beast ran amok for a decade until a farmer named Mizu Hastings found it peacefully eating in his yard and killed it. One single shot killed the monster. It was only then that the red ghost was identified, a camel with leather straps on its sides stuck so tightly that they had caused scars. A skeleton was, indeed, perched upon his back, but why? No one knew. Some thought that a prospector, dying of thirst, had tied himself to the back of the animal in hopes of it bringing him to water. Others thought that it was a soldier who, while learning to ride a camel, had been stuck when it suddenly bolted off. One fact remains true: the red ghost was no more. I feel kind of sad for it. If it was real, which is an if, as some parts of the legend are completely unverifiable, it was an injured animal. Injured animals have different responses than we do. It was taken from its home, brought to Arizona to be part of the Camel Corps, and then, most likely, just abandoned when it didn't work out. And yes, that is true. The Camel Corps really existed in the 1800s, and even though those animals were successful, some of them were just abandoned when it disbanded. I think Mushu said it best. Dishonor! Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. Anyway, I have strong feelings about animals. Now, what do I think about the red ghost as an urban legend? It has real merit. Put yourself in the shoes of the witnesses. You've just seen this unknown creature since, let's be honest, how many people in those days in Arizona had seen a camel before? And it was currently transporting a human skeleton. Scary is an understatement. Like I said about the Dead Children's Playground, I like the incorporation of real life, the Camel Corps, with the fictional aspect of this legend. I think I'll give this one an A rating. Now, let's talk about the actual ghost. Maybe. In Tucson, Arizona, there's a small, mostly unremarkable shrine with major religious and historic influence. El Tiradito can be found in the Old Barrio area of downtown Tucson. Also known as the Wishing Shrine, it is a simple structure. It is a shrine that stands up against a single brick wall with a large metal rack for candles and desert plants occupying the interior. Overall, your question may be, why is it any more important than any other shrine? Well, because miracles happen there. The legend surrounding this shrine has at least 20 different versions. There are some things that all of them agree on, however. Someone died and was buried where they fell on unconsecrated ground because of some sin or another that they committed. Since then, the ghost of this someone has haunted this area, granting the wishes of those who leaves it notes, as long as their candle burns completely through the night. This person gained a reputation for being the only sinner to become a saint after death. But that's not a very satisfying way to tell an urban legend. So let's tell one of the versions. It was the late 1800s. A lowly farmhand named Juan Olivares had just had a wonderfully joyous occasion in his life. He had been married, but his true affections did not lie with his wife. Oh no, they lied with her mother, and her mother loved him back. The two of them hid an affair, secreting away for romantic rendezvous, but they weren't careful enough. They were caught by his love's husband. His father-in-law, a man not to be trifled with, took his revenge right then and there, using an axe to end Juan's life. Juan, a sinner in the eyes of the Catholic Church, could not be buried in a Catholic graveyard. His bones could not touch consecrated ground. His lover, heartbroken, decided to bury him near where he fell. A shrine called El Tiradito, the Little Castaway, was erected over his gravesite. The rest is history. Juan stayed, passing messages on to God, granting miracles and wishes from beyond the grave, cleansing his soul and becoming the first sinner to turn into a saint. Let's call that my personal version. I love it. I really do like this urban legend. But there's a problem. The El Tiradito that stands today is not the original. The shrine that Juan, the sinner to saint, was connected to, it was demolished. I don't know the exact year, but it was destroyed to build a highway. For a highway. It might not have been actual holy ground, but it was extremely important to the people, and it was just taken away from them. But that's not the point of this. The El Tiradito that stands today, the one that they had to campaign to make a historic landmark so it wouldn't be torn down for another highway, was built in 1927. A man named Teofilo Otero donated to reconstruct it. The question is, why would Juan, or whoever this ghost is, be there? It's pretty well known that ghosts stick to a certain place. Now, there's a lot of theories on this, all of them unsubstantiated because, well, they're theories about ghosts, but it seems that ghosts are either connected to their physical body or an object. Juan stayed right where his physical body was. The shrine was an afterthought. Moving to a new shrine, unless I missed somewhere that they moved the body, is a bit of a hole in the legend. But I'm still going to give them a B rating. Like I said, I really liked it. Also, my rating has no sway on the actual importance of this site. It is a historic landmark that is used as a site of mourning. It's also used for meetings of advocacy groups. It's used to hold vigils and pray for the souls of the deceased from disasters. It's also used for protests to end violence and abuse. The Catholic Church may not agree that this is a holy site, but for so many it is. No matter what you believe in, it is an important place, wish-granting ghost or not. The last urban legend that I have for today is not an urban legend native to only Arizona. However, it is generally believed that the location of one of these urban legends is somewhere in the Superstition Mountains near Apache Junction, which is east of Phoenix, Arizona. The last urban legend for today is a legend about a lost gold mine. The Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine is similar to El Terodito in that it has a few variations. Around 62 to be exact. As we don't have time to go through near that many variations, I will tell the variations of the legend that seem to be the most popular. It's not exceedingly long, but it is interesting. It starts in the 1800s, around 1840. A Mexican family with the last name Peralta has developed a mine in the Superstition Mountains. This mine is rich in ore, especially gold. The Peralta family claimed this ore as their own, traveling from the mine back across the border to Mexico, then returning to the mine. As they made one of these trips, the natives made it known that they did not appreciate what the Peralta family was doing. A battle ensues, but it wasn't much of a fight. The Apache won, and nearly every member of the family had been killed. The area where this battle occurred would later be named the Massacre Grounds. It wouldn't be until 1870 that a German man named Jacob Waltz would happen upon the mine. Many had searched for it, but none had found it. Jacob, also known as the Dutchman, was believed to have found the mine by working with a descendant of the Peralta family themselves. He didn't waste any time. He roped his friend, Jacob Weiser, into working the mine with him. The two men mining large quantities of gold and hiding them in caches in the mountains. But their story would end the same way that the Peralta families did. They would be attacked by the Apache, and this is where the popular stories take a turn. In some, this is the end. Both the Dutchman and his friend are killed by the Apache, and the mine is lost again. But there's a popular version of the legend where the Dutchman lives, and he takes the location of the mine to his deathbed, nearly 20 years later. It was then that he told his nurse, Julia Thomas, how to find the mine. He told her that there was enough gold left in the mine to make millionaires out of 20 men. After Jacob's death, Julia sold everything she had and teamed up with a pair of brothers. Together they scoured the Superstition Mountains in search of the mine, but found nothing. Julia returned, defeated, while the brothers fought and ultimately split up to try to find the gold in their own. To this day, the Lost Dutchman's gold mine has not been found, even though it is estimated that 9,000 people a year go in search of it, hoping to find the treasure and live their dream lives. How do I feel about this one? I like treasure stories, don't get me wrong, but there's something about this one that's not my favorite. I don't know why. I almost feel like it's a jab at the Apache for being savages for killing people in the mountains, and all that reading between the lines stuff. There's always more to a story than is actually written on the page. I also feel like it's lacking something. Between the first Apache attack and the deathbed confession to the nurse, what was the Dutchman doing? If you knew where a mine of gold was, do you think you could keep it to yourself? You'll tell yourself that you can, but that's huge. I don't know. Realistically, geologists say that the Superstition Mountains can't hold gold because of the types of mountains they are. That's all I got for realism. I guess I'm gonna give it a D. Sorry to everyone who loves the story. Maybe I would have liked a different variation better, but it's my final decision. What do you think? Was I fair with my readings? Did I miss anything about these urban legends that would change my view on them? Is there an urban legend in your state that you would like me to research and rate? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and pressing that like button. It would be super appreciated. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.